Hey everybody, we are doing astrology chart readings for celebrities. If this is something you're interested in, please subscribe below or like or send to a friend who might be interested in similar content. If there is a celebrity you'd like us to cover in a future video, please comment below and we'll honestly do our best to try to get around to them as quickly as we can. And if you are interested in getting a report for your own astrology chart, that we can be sent an email to you, click on the link in the bio and then check those out as well. I think it's an important part if you're on a personal journey of self-exploration to kind of understand your astrology chart, numerology chart, and anything you can to begin your journey of self-discovery. Now let's go to our celebrity for this video. We are going to be doing Emma Watson of Harry Potter fame. And here's our chart here, and we'll kind of go through some of the highlights and biggest takeaways of this chart without getting into all the technical nitty-gritty, at least for this type of video. As you go through and looking at all the different balances of the signs that are represented in this, it's a fairly balanced chart. As well as far as the elements, it's a little bit earth heavy, but overall fairly balanced. I've seen charts way more representative or underrepresented in certain elements than this one. Looking at the specific houses as you go around the chart where there are some important areas. The third house seems to have be an important house for this chart. The third house deals with your early communication or in education, and obviously in early childhood that kind of can be related to your siblings or whoever you spent time with in your early childhood, because that's who's going to be around at the time. So that suggests this is an area of focus for her journey through this life. Additionally, the fourth house. The fourth house is about home and family, and obviously that deals with your upbringing and your parents, since your early childhood home is going to be dominated by your parents and how they raise you. Additionally, also you can see there's some activity in the eighth house as well, and that's kind of about the support you receive for other people. It's a house of regeneration. It kind of covers like all the metaphysical things. The second house is more of like people say possessions, but it's really what you value. And the eighth house is more of when you get into, kind of in partnerships and relationships, kind of what we value together. Looking at all the different quadrants, you can see the second quadrant is strong. That's kind of the bottom right corner where you can see this means that Emma would be receptive to other people, sensitive to kind of the under the belly undercurrent feelings going on in relationships. So she would have some, I'll call it intuition in that area. The next would be in looking at the different hemispheres. So if you want to stand, north, east, south, or west, where's the most activity in her chart? And for her chart, the western direction is the strongest, and that deals with your interactions with other people. Kind of play an important role in her life. She would, value both personal relationships and interactions with, humanity broadly. She would have kind of a gift for mediating in any of her relationships and possess the kind of nuance, nuance the right amount of nuances into dealing with relationships. She would tend to learn the most about herself in the context of relations with others. That's actually a common theme if you see in Eastern wisdom. You learn the most about yourself, and the more you kind of give or are vulnerable with other people, and then they will feed back or mirror back to you things about yourself that'll help you learn about yourself. Looking at the phase of the moon at the time of her birth, it would suggest that sharing knowledge with the world is a major motivation in her life, and then she believes she's kind of gained much of her knowledge and wisdom through her experiences and actually doing things or experiencing through life, and would want to ensure others have the benefit of her experiences and her knowledge of what she gained as well. We'll quickly go through, the one of the most obvious things is obviously, Virgo rising and the eastern horizon would say that, order and precision are kind of preferred modes of self-expression. She kind of have almost a desire. This kind of gets on like almost perfectionist. You kind of need to balance that with a little bit of tolerance. As far as the 10th house, kind of the ascendant Gemini in the 10th house, stimulation activity in her professional life is kind of a requirement for her. She would really seek that out in things that she does. Communication would also be very important, and she would love to be recognized for her own intellect, and may enjoy having more than one profession going at the same time. Now, looking at some of the specific spots of charts points, we'll start with the moon. Her moon is in Sagittarius, which would suggest she'd have like almost an emotional need for adventure or independence, almost an instinctual urge for travel and exploring. And then when things get stressful in life, she would really want to seek out an adventure. And then her moon is located in her third house, which also kind of we talked about earlier. The moon in the third house suggests, a strong need to communicate with other people and keep up with the latest news. That might be, constantly being in touch with potentially siblings or people that were very important to her in her early education, early parts of her life. She would have an inquisitive mind. It would aim to keep up, almost not a news junkie, but being up to speed on everything that's going on in the world. Let's go next to her sun. She is in Aries, so if you're looking for sun signs, and probably the most common thing that people would know about astrology reports, her sun is in Aries, indicating that she's fairly assertive and a freedom-loving individual with a strong need for independence. Independence is a big theme that kind of comes through her chart and report as well. Some people might say she's a little headstrong, but she simply believes that she has a right to assert herself into any situation and assert her ideas and her values in the situation. Those should be respected and have equal weight as anyone else's. She's a natural born leader, ability to focus on, her own goals, and, kind of work through that. Her sun is in the eighth house. Sun in the eighth house would mean that, having that kind of, as I mentioned before, she's interested in people. The eighth house is kind of where your relationships, even personal relationships, come in. So this would suggest that relationships would be very important for her. Even though being an Aries, she'd be an intense kind of person who likes to bypass, superficial side of life and kind of dive deeply into the full meaning of life, and that would be very important to her, in any kind of partnership or relationship she would be in. Let's go to Venus. So Venus she is in Pisces for her, so she would, really seek to almost, really be at one with her partner, and in fact, she would want to be at one with the universe as well. So it's a desire to connect with people, not just in relationships with the world in general. She may enjoy sharing inspirational activities, ranging from listening to music or going to art galleries or anything like that. And the fact that her Venus is in her sixth house would suggest that that has to do with like daily routines, and so she would enjoy a peaceful, harmonious. Venus is a little more harmonious daily environment, and that's very important to her as well. Now, we'll kind of scroll through and look at some of the other big ones here. So her Jupiter is in Cancer. She would have a strong urge to look after her loved ones. Might be very idealistic. She may eventually have a large family or feel as though, the world itself is her family. As I mentioned, kind of resonates with the earlier comments of the desire to connect in relationships and with the world broadly. Her Jupiter is in her 10th house, so therefore her profession and her public life are vehicles for which she would find to express, the kind of the meaning of life. And she would have an ever expanding need for public recognition. Let's go to Saturn. Saturn is in Capricorn, so that would make her a little more, conservative, authoritarian, strong worldly ambitions, and being very responsible. The fact that Saturn's in her fourth house would also suggest the importance of home, and then kind of the Saturn's about kind of building not barriers or walls, but kind of the limitations. Obviously, as parents, you have to set guidelines and boundaries for your children. So this kind of suggests that being in the fourth house, that her parents played that important role for her growing up. And then any other pieces here we can look at? Let's look at where her Pluto is. So Pluto for her is in the second house. Therefore, mostly it's about Pluto is about transformation and change, and the second house is really about people call it possessions, but it's really about what you value and determining what you value in the world. So it may come say up and down or swings in possessions or money or even the challenge to explore between what you really value. There may be some questioning of what she may value or kind of continuing self-development or seeking throughout the rest of her life. So I think that's we'll wrap it up there for now, and then if you have any other celebrities you'd like to hear about, comment below. Please like and subscribe, and if you're interested in having your own astrology chart created with reports all about you, check out the links in the bio.